He was a billionaire known for making cold, calculated decisions until a near-death experience led him into a dusty little diner where a bold waitress served him more than just coffee. She served him the truth he never saw coming. What began as a simple breakfast turned into a life-altering conversation, a canceled billion-dollar deal, and a love story that defied every expectation. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video and tell us where. Are you watching from now? Let's jump into the story. The morning had started like any other for Nathan Hale. Clear skies, a hot espresso in his cup holder, the low purr of his sleek silver Aston Martin echoing through the quiet city streets. Everything was routine until it wasn't. A screech of tires, a blur of movement. And suddenly, his heart slammed against his chest like a drum. He hit the brakes just in time. The car skidded sideways and came to a violent halt just inches away from a delivery truck that had blown through a red light. Nathan's hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. For a man who had survived lawsuits, cyber attacks, and boardroom betrayals, this felt different. He had nearly died because someone couldn't wait 5 more seconds at a stoplight. The driver shouted something and sped off, leaving behind the scent of burnt rubber and adrenaline. Shaken, Nathan pulled into the first open parking space he could find. It happened to be in front of a small diner with a flickering red neon sign that read The Red Tulip. He usually passed these places without a second thought. Today, he needed air, and maybe coffee, or something stronger than caffeine. The bell above the door jingled as he walked in. A scent of frying bacon and fresh biscuits drifted toward him. Inside, the diner was quiet. Peaceful in a way Nathan hadn't felt in years. Leather booths, checkered floors, handwritten specials on a chalkboard, no laptops, no endless meetings. Just a few locals enjoying their meals. Take any seat you like. Sugar, called a voice from behind the counter. Warm, playful. It belonged to a young woman with messy curls, pulled back into a bun and eyes the color of stormy skies. She wore a red apron dusted with flour and a smile that seemed like it belonged in another decade. Nathan gave a stiff nod and chose the booth in the far corner. He opened his phone. 67 unread messages, 3 missed calls from his assistant, from his lawyer, and a single text from his mother that simply read, "Call me," with a heart emoji. He opened the manila folder in his bag. Inside was the contract that had consumed the last 3 years of his life. A massive merger that would double the size of Hale Technologies, triple its reach, and make him one of the richest men on the East Coast. All it needed was his signature. Let me guess, the voice returned, placing a mug of black coffee in front of him. No sugar, no cream, and no time for small talk. Nathan looked up. The waitress was standing there, hands on hips, a smirk playing on her lips. Something about her seemed familiar, not her face, but her presence, bold, unafraid. "How did you know?" he asked, honestly surprised. "You're the guy who nearly kissed the front of a delivery truck out there," she gestured toward the window with her chin. "Figured anyone who starts their day with a brush against death could use something strong," he chuckled despite himself. "Nathan," he said, offering his hand. "Marley," she replied, shaking it without hesitation. "You look like you've got the weight of Wall Street on your shoulders." "Something like that," he said, closing the folder slightly. "Let me guess again," she said, pouring herself a cup and sliding into the booth across from him without asking. "Tech mogul, probably in the middle of some giant deal. Trying to decide if you want to be richer or just rich." He raised an eyebrow. "You know who I am." "I know of you," Marley said. "Your company's name is on half the skyscrapers in this city. Also, my brother once tried to pitch you his app idea at a networking event. You told him it needed work and walked away." "Was I wrong?" he asked. "No." "It was a terrible idea," she said, laughing. "But he still talks about it like you gave him a secret code." Nathan smiled. He hadn't done that in a while. They sat in silence for a moment. Not awkward silence. The comfortable kind. Outside, the city was waking up. People rushed to their jobs. Horns honked. Sirens wailed. In the distance, but inside the red tulip, everything was calm. You don't seem like someone who reads the business section, Nathan said finally. I read everything, Marley replied. Once had a dream to start a tech company myself. Educational software. For kids, storytelling tools, learning games. But dreams don't pay bills, and reality has rent. You gave up on it? He asked, intrigued. Put it on pause, she said. Maybe permanently, but it's okay. I like it here. It's honest work. Nathan looked down at the contract again. The deal felt solid on paper, but something about it now seemed ... off. Hollow, like numbers without meaning. You ever get the feeling something looks perfect, but still feels wrong? He asked. All the time, Marley said. Those are the moments that tell you something important is missing. Question is, do you keep going or stop to figure it out? Nathan didn't have an answer, as Marley stood up and picked up the empty mugs. She added, the truth always finds a way to get your attention. Sometimes with a whisper, sometimes with a garbage truck. She winked and walked away. Nathan watched her go. Outside, his car sat untouched. His phone buzzed again. But for once, he didn't pick it up. Instead, he stared at the contract. And for the first time in a long while, wasn't sure he wanted to sign. Nathan Hale didn't return to the Red Tulip Diner because he needed more coffee. He returned because something inside him felt unfinished. It wasn't just about the merger or the near-miss accident. It was about Marley. The waitress with sharp eyes, a kind voice, and a dream she had quietly tucked away. The next morning, he stepped into the diner just as the bell above the door gave its cheerful ring. Marley was behind the counter, wiping down menus and humming a soft tune. She looked up, surprised but not unkind. Back again so soon? She asked, a playful smile tugging at her lips. Turns out your coffee pairs well with existential doubt, Nathan replied, slipping into the same corner booth from the day before. Marley laughed and walked over. You want the usual? And whatever breakfast you think a man with a moral crisis should be eating, he said. She raised an eyebrow. Moral crisis, huh? That's heavy for a Thursday. As she walked away to place his order, Nathan opened his briefcase and pulled out the merger contract again. The pages looked the same, but something about them now felt different. Colder. Emptier. Marley returned with eggs, toast, and a strong second cup of coffee. She slid into the seat across from him again, this time without hesitation. So, she said, what's the story? Nathan hesitated. He wasn't used to talking about his business with strangers, but Marley didn't feel like a stranger. She felt like someone who could hear the parts no one else bothered to ask about. I'm supposed to sign this in 2 hours, he said, tapping the thick document. A merger that will make my company twice as large. More power. More money. More headlines. Sounds like everything you're supposed to want, Marley said. That's the problem, Nathan replied. It is what I'm supposed to want, but it doesn't feel right. Marley tilted her head. What feels off? I don't know, he admitted. Something in my gut. Something I can't measure in data or charts. Just this quiet feeling that I'm missing something important. When's the last time you listened to your gut instead of a spreadsheet? She asked. Nathan didn't answer right away. His silence was enough. My mom used to say that doubt isn't always a red flag, Marley said gently. Sometimes it's a sign you're finally waking up. He looked at her then. Really looked. She wasn't trying to impress him. She wasn't pitching a business idea. She was just being real. And in that moment, Nathan realized how rare that was in his world. You said yesterday that you wanted to build educational software, he said. What happened? Marley's smile faded slightly. Life happened. My mom got sick. I dropped out of grad school. Started waiting tables to pay for her care. After she passed, I stayed here. It was easier than dreaming again. But you still think about it, Nathan said. Every day, she replied quietly. I had this idea. Stories that adapt to the way kids learn. Fun games that teach math. And reading without feeling like school. Nathan leaned in. That's not just a good idea. That's a brilliant one. Marley laughed softly. Says the man with a global tech company. says the man who knows a good product when he hears it, Nathan said. You're not just smart, you care about solving real problems. That's what the best companies are built on. She looked down, brushing a crumb off the table. It's just a dream. So was my company once, Nathan said. Until I decided to stop thinking about what might go wrong and start building something anyway. They sat in silence again. Outside, people walked by without knowing that inside something important was happening. A turning point. Quiet. Shift in direction. Marley stood up. I should get back to work, Marley, Nathan said before she walked away. Can I see you again? She turned back, surprised. For coffee? Or tacos in the park? Or anything that doesn't involve legal documents or profit forecasts? She smiled again. This time slower, warmer. I get off at 6. I'll be outside, he promised. That evening, as the sun dipped below the city skyline, Nathan waited. By a small fountain in the local park. He wore jeans he hadn't touched in years, and a plain t-shirt that made him feel like someone else, someone simpler, freer. When Marley arrived, she wore a light jacket and sneakers, her hair down and her smile soft. They walked to a nearby food truck and ordered 2 plates of tacos, sitting on the grass. Watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink, Nathan felt something rare. Peace, thank you, he said after a while. For what? Marley asked. For making me question what I thought I knew, he replied. For reminding me there's more to life than success. She looked at him for a long moment. So, what are you going to do about that merger? I don't know yet, he said, but whatever I decide, I want it to be the right reason. Not the easy one. Marley nodded. You'll figure it out. Just don't forget the feeling that brought you here. Nathan smiled. I won't. They sat there until the stars came out. 2 people from different worlds. Connected not by money or fame, but by the honesty they found in each other. And in that quiet moment, surrounded by food trucks and fireflies, a new kind of partnership began to grow. Nathan Hale walked through the tall glass doors of Hale Technologies the next morning with a heavy heart. The lobby was quiet, but not peaceful. It felt like the silence before a storm. He nodded to the receptionist, forced a smile, and rode the elevator to the top floor. He was supposed to sign the merger today. The papers were ready. The board was waiting, and the press was already preparing the headline. But something inside him said no. As he stepped into the boardroom, every pair of eyes turned toward him. 12 men and women in expensive suits sat around a long table. At the head was Victor Stone, the board chairman and Nathan's longtime mentor. Nathan, Victor said without a smile. You're late. I needed time to think, Nathan, replied Patrice Gray, the company's chief financial officer, folded her arms. Think about what? This deal is the biggest opportunity we've had in years, I know, Nathan said. But I've been hearing things. Victor raised an eyebrow. What kind of things? Protests, Nathan said. Partner company's headquarters, rumors about illegal dumping, environmental violations, cover-ups. The room fell silent. Then Victor spoke. Those are just that. Rumors? Do we know that for sure? Nathan asked. Because if we don't, and we go through with this deal, we could be tying our name to something dangerous. Patrice leaned forward. Nathan, we've done our due diligence. 8 months of research. Hours of legal reviews. This deal is clean. Then why wasn't I told about the protests? Nathan asked. No one answered. How long have you known? He said, looking around the room. Finally, Victor sighed. 3 weeks we didn't think it was important. Nathan felt a chill run down his spine. You didn't think potential criminal charges were important? The legal team is confident. It will be resolved, Victor said. We didn't want to delay a deal this size over noise. This isn't noise, Nathan said. This is a risk to everything we've built. Marcus Jennings, the youngest board member, spoke up. Nathan, with all due respect, this isn't like you. You're usually the most strategic person in the room. You don't walk away from $500 million based on your feelings. Nathan looked at him. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I've been ignoring my instincts for too long. Patrice slammed her tablet on the table. If you don't sign this deal, we could lose everything. Our stock, our credibility, our investors. Are you prepared for that? Nathan stood up. I'm prepared to lose money, not prepared to lose my integrity. The board exploded. In noise, people talking over each other, voices raised, fingers pointed. Nathan raised his hand. The room quieted. We are not moving forward with the merger, he said calmly. I'll issue a statement this afternoon. Whole Technologies will pursue growth without compromising our values. Victor stood. You don't have the authority to make that call alone? I'm the CEO, Nathan replied. Till you vote me out, this is my call. He left the room without waiting for a reply. Outside, his phone buzzed with messages. Reporters asking questions, investors demanding answers. But Nathan didn't respond. Instead, got in his car and drove back to the place where everything had started. The Red Tulip Diner, Marley, was behind the counter, pouring coffee and chatting with regulars. When she saw him, she smiled. It wasn't the smile people gave him at business meetings. It was real. Warm, grounding. That bad? She asked, sliding into the booth across from him. Nathan nodded. I just walked away from the biggest deal of my life. Marley poured him coffee. Why? Because it was wrong, he said. And because of you, me, she asked, surprised. You reminded me that people matter. Purpose matters. I've spent years building a company without asking if it's helping anyone. You made me ask? Marley looked down at the table. I just talked. You made the choice. You showed me the kind of leader I want to be, he said. And now, I want to help you become the kind of leader you're meant to be. Marley blinked. What are you saying? I want to invest in your idea, he said. Your educational software, your dream. Not as a favor, not as a handout, as a real investor, as a partner. Marley stared at him. Nathan, I'm a waitress. I've never run a company. Neither had I. When I started, he replied, but I see how you think, how you see people. You're already a leader. She looked unsure. What if I fail? Then we fail together, Nathan said, and we get back up. This is crazy, she said. The best things usually are, he said. Marley leaned back. Okay, but if we're doing this, we do it the right way. No shortcuts, no favors. I want contracts, equity agreements, everything. Nathan smiled. Deal. That night as he walked back to his car, Nathan felt lighter than he had in years. The board might try to replace him. The media might spin stories. But he had made the right choice, and he had found a new purpose. Not just profits, not just power, but something real, something good. 6 months later, the world looked very different for both Nathan and Marley. The small Red Tulip Diner, once just a stop for tired commuters, had become the unofficial meeting space for something much bigger. Every morning, Marley sat in the back booth with her laptop and a notebook full of sketches and wireframes. Across from her sat Nathan, sipping coffee and reviewing investor emails together. They had built a company called Learning Lane. It was an educational software startup focused on giving every child access to creative and affordable learning tools. It started with a single idea. It grew into a mission. Their platform used stories, games, and simple language to help children who struggled in traditional classrooms. Parents were calling it a miracle. Teachers were recommending it. And most importantly, kids were using it and smiling while they learned. On a bright Wednesday afternoon, they stood on stage at their official launch event. Marley, dressed in a navy blue dress, stood at the microphone, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. We created Learning Lane because every child deserves a chance to learn in a way that makes sense to them, she said. Our goal is not just to teach, but to inspire. Nathan watched from the side of the stage, a quiet smile on his face. He had stood in front of thousands of investors in his life, but he had never been as proud as he was at that moment. After the event, as cameras flashed and reporters asked questions, Marley stepped off the stage and joined Nathan. You were incredible, he said. You said that last time, she replied. I meant it last time too. He smiled as the guests started to leave. Nathan gently took Marley's hand and led her back to the Red Tulip. The diner was closed for the day, but the lights were still on, and Carlos, the cook, gave them a knowing grin before heading out the back door. They sat at their usual booth, the one where Nathan had once questioned everything and where Marley had reminded him of what truly mattered. "Do you remember the first thing you said to me?" Nathan asked. "Probably something sarcastic," Marley replied. "You said people who almost die before 8 a.m. need coffee more than conversation," he said. "Sounds about right," she laughed. Nathan reached into his jacket and placed a small box on the table. Marley's laughter stopped. She looked at him, eyes wide. "Marley Joyce," he began, "you changed my life in ways no one else could. You believed in me when I had forgotten how to believe in myself. You reminded me that success means nothing without purpose." He opened the box to reveal a simple ring with a single, shining stone. "I don't know what the future holds," he continued, "but I know this. I want to build that future with you, not just as your business partner, but as your partner in every part of life." Marley stared at the ring, then at him. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Are you asking me to marry you?" "I am," he said. "But only if you promise not to let me wear a tuxedo with tails." Marley laughed through the tears that had started to gather in her eyes. She said, "Absolutely yes." Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Carlos peeked in through the window and gave them a thumbs up before disappearing again. They were alone in the diner, surrounded by memories and the smell of old coffee and cinnamon as they held each other. Marley whispered, "We should probably talk about a wedding budget." "I'll let you handle that," Nathan said. "You're the real CEO around here," Deal, Marley replied, resting her head on his shoulder. 2 weeks later, Learning Lane crossed its first major milestone. Over 10,000 active users, schools began reaching out to partner. Foundation offered to fund development for students with learning disabilities. The team hired its first 10 employees, all from diverse backgrounds, all united by the same goal. The success was real, but the love was stronger. One morning, Nathan walked into the diner with pancakes from their favorite food truck and found Marley typing away at her laptop. "What are you working on now?" he asked. "Version 2. She said, "More stories, more languages, better access." He kissed her cheek and sat down. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "this all started with a near car crash and a terrible cup of black coffee." "And a waitress who didn't know how to give up," Nathan added. Marley smiled. "Do you ever miss your old life?"
"I know,"
Nathan said without hesitation. "I used to think success meant power and profit. Now I know it means helping people, building something that matters, finding someone who makes the world feel brighter." "Cheesy," Marley said. "Honest," Nathan replied. Outside, the city was busy again. People rushing to work, taxis honking, phones ringing. But inside the Red Tulip, everything was calm. And for Nathan and Marley, this was just the beginning. Not the end of a story, but the start of forever.